And Chairman Shine Bright Global Incorporated, Dr. Tony Bello, joins me via Skype from Chesapeake, Virginia, USA. Thanks for talking to us, or thanks for joining us. Now, this is a rather grim picture when you look at, in terms of food security around the world. Help us understand what these factors behind the projected rise in food insecurity are.
Thank you so much, and thanks for having me. I think you just made the first point. Let me say my heart goes out to the victims in the Atlanta shooting and as well as Boulder, Colorado. The impact of hate crime and the impact of extremism cannot be discounted when it comes to the issue of hunger. If we take the example of Nigeria, right now, the insecurity issues, the herdsmen against the farmers, will ultimately or has ultimately resulted in shortage of food. The demand for food is much greater than the supply. Even in Nigeria, in the Northeast, you mentioned the UN studies that indicated northeastern Nigeria is at a very high risk. That coupled with the COVID-19 pandemic, and the disruptions in the supply chain caused by COVID-19, 2020, 2021, these are all major factors. But we must not forget about the need for private sector engagement. Strong public-private sector implementation partnerships becomes the key to the institutional reforms that are going on all over the world.
But before we even get to, just to jump in, before we even get to institutional reforms, do you think that leaders around the world understand the enormity of this crisis and the damage or the potential damage that disaster that we're going to face if this is not addressed?
But yes, and we have to thank the United Nations and the World Food Program for the publication that came out, I think it was yesterday or 2 days ago, you just alluded to. Just this morning from the president of African Development Bank, Dr. Akinwumi Adesina, and the Nobel World Food Prize laureates calling on President Biden to step in as America is looked upon as a world leader and really creating a high level of sensitivity for high-ranking government officials, whether in the United States, the Biden-Harris administration, or the Buhari-Osinbajo administration. This is we are facing a tripod issue of insecurity, of hunger, of poverty, and I may just add, as it relates to food, malnutrition. And we must not forget that. So kudos to the United Nations program, the SDG, and the UNDP programs, and the World Food programs that are doing their very best with limited resources to fight off some of these issues of hunger and malnutrition that is a bomb waiting to explode if the leaders of the world do not take notice. And our job, your job, my job, and those of others is to raise the awareness and sensitivity. So I commend you guys for this program. So
the point here is that people always say that this is some sort of irreversible reaction where you have hunger leading to insecurity and insecurity leading to hunger and back to hunger to insecurity. It just keeps going round and round. So for countries like South Sudan, northern Nigeria, and Yemen that are hunger hotspots, what sort of critical or priority actions do you think should be taken?
There are proven methodologies, and we see a shift from the global leaders, a shift towards trade and investment versus aid. The old paradigm of pouring money into hotspots is not the best way. It is creation of job opportunities for the indigenous in those regions. That is the key, and engagement of private sector. In the United States, for example, the Millennium Challenge Corporation, engagement of private sector advisory council to get more impact for monies that are spent in investment in these countries becomes the very key to success, trade and investment, not aid. And looking for the right local partners and to be engaged in terms of delivery of results against expectations and monies that are being spent. Of course, the issues of governance must also be addressed side by side.
So let's talk about the issue of governance, because you already said that should be addressed. In most parts of the world, we are now in the planting season. For places where COVID-19 is a problem, people can still plant. But where insecurity is a problem, it becomes difficult to go out and plant because you do not want to go back home. You do not want to be attacked, or no one wants to lose their life in the process. So what can governments, or leaders around the world do to ensure that farmers have access and security at in this planting season?
Yeah, let's just focus on Nigeria for a moment on that particular note. The economic sustainability plan of President Muhammadu Buhari is working. Is working in the sense of the Central Bank of Nigeria's intervention for financing of inputs. It is working in the sense of private sector engagement. I am aware that through the Federal Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development, they have engaged 6 to 8 platform partners and the commodity associations, I believe, for rice, maize, cassava, and livestock. And the idea is to do all season farming, from dry season to wet season, and all year farming. And that reform, that economic sustainability plan, at least for Nigeria, we can say, is setting up the stage that would help to avert hunger in Nigeria. And I am very aware that this is happening as we speak. I think it was yesterday I was reading a newspaper article by a gentleman who thought that the Federal Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment was doing everything agribusiness, and rightfully so, in terms of the statutory and mandatory roles and responsibility of that ministry, but they're not doing it alone. It is the engagement of the private sector that is very, very critical. I have one of my partners in Cross River State just yesterday sent me the memorandum of understanding that was signed, I believe, on March 21st with 2 communities that have never seen eye to eye in terms of land tenure and land ownership. He was able to broker a deal for 4,000 hectares for cassava farming. We're doing everything to plan operationalization on that piece of land.
Absolutely.
And engagement of the community becomes the key here.
We'll continue to see we'll continue to see how these local and international partnership play out in terms of averting this food insecurity and the disaster that might lie ahead if we do nothing about it. Chairman, Shine Bright Global Incorporated, joining us from the United States. Dr. Tony Bello, thanks for talking to us.
Thank you so much.